I sit in my car, staring at the shattered glass littering my dashboard, tears threatening to spill over. What hurts more than the destruction of my brand new Toyota Camry? The first nice thing I've ever bought for myself is knowing who wielded the baseball bat against it. My own brother Mason, the golden child of our family, caught in perfect 1080p resolution by the insurance-mandated Dashcam I'd installed just 3 days earlier. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The morning sunshine filters through the blinds in the Progressive Insurance office, casting stripes across Ms. Rivera's desk as she reviews the footage on her computer screen. Her professional demeanor cracks slightly when Mason's face comes clearly into view, his expression contorted with rage as he swings the bat against my car's windshield. "This is unusually clear evidence, Ms. Campbell," she says, her manicured nails pausing the video at the exact moment my brother's face is perfectly framed by the camera. "Family disputes are always difficult, but this is unambiguous." I nod, feeling a strange mix of vindication and heartbreak. For years, my family has dismissed my concerns about Mason's volatility, his sense of entitlement, his rage when he doesn't get his way. Now his actions are captured in undeniable digital clarity, impossible for my parents to explain away or minimize as they've done throughout our childhood. The claim should process quickly given the evidence, Ms. Rivera continues, her voice softening. Though I should ask, have you filed a police report yet? The question hangs in the air between us. Filing a police report means pressing charges against my own brother. It means making official what my family has spent years denying. It means burning bridges that perhaps can never be rebuilt. I needed to see the insurance situation first. I answer, my voice steadier than I feel. I wanted to know my options. She nods understandingly, sliding a folder across her desk toward me. These are your options for the claim processing. Given the circumstances and your comprehensive coverage, we can proceed with or without a police report, though I should note that in cases of vandalism. Her voice fades into background noise as my mind drifts back to 3 weeks earlier. The Toyota dealership, the new car smell, the pride I felt signing those papers as a single woman with excellent credit. The first major purchase I'd made without asking anyone's permission or opinion. The beginning, I thought, of a new chapter in my life. My phone buzzes with a text from my mother. "Mason says there's a misunderstanding about your car. Come home so we can talk this through as a family." A misunderstanding. The word makes my stomach clench. The footage shows Mason circling my car at 2:14 a.m., methodically smashing every window, headlight, and mirror. There's no misunderstanding what happened, only why. "Ms. Campbell." Ms. Rivera's voice pulls me back to the present. "Would you like me to continue with the claim as is? Or would you prefer to take some time to consider your options?" I straighten in my chair, something hardening within me. "Process the claim, please. And I'd like a copy of that video footage." 20 minutes later, I sit in my rental car, a basic Ford Focus that feels nothing like my beloved Camry, staring at my parents' suburban home. The 2-story colonial, with its perfect landscaping and American flag fluttering by the door, represents everything my parents value: appearances, tradition, stability. Mason lives in the finished basement rent-free at 28, while I've been paying my own way since college. My mother opens the door before I can knock, her face tight with anxiety. "Olivia? Thank goodness. Come in. Your father and Mason are in the living room." I follow her through the familiar hallway, past photographs documenting our family history. In nearly every picture, Mason is centered while I stand slightly to the side. The star quarterback, the prom king, the college graduate with honors. Always the focus. Always the favorite. Though my parents would deny this vehemently if confronted. My father sits in his leather recliner, reading glasses perched on his nose as he reviews what looks like printouts of my insurance policy, the one I've been paying for faithfully since I was 22. Mason slouches on the couch, arms crossed defensively across his chest. No one mentions the bandage wrapped around his right hand. "Olivia," my father begins without preamble, "this situation has gotten out of hand. Your brother says you've been making threats about some alleged vandalism." Alleged? The word escapes me before I can contain it. "My car is destroyed, Dad. Every window shattered, the headlights smashed." the paint scratched down to the metal. "Look," Mason interjects, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. The posture he adopts when he's about to lie convincingly. "I know we've had our differences lately, but I'd never do something like that. I was home all night. Mom and Dad can vouch for me." Our mother nods quickly. "He was downstairs playing those video games until at least 3 in the morning." I heard him. The familiar pattern unfolds exactly as it has throughout our lives. Mason denies our parents believe him implicitly, and I'm cast as the irrational one, the troublemaker, despite being the responsible adult who has never given them reason to doubt me. "The dashcam caught everything," I say quietly, pulling out my phone. The insurance company has the footage. It's date and time stamped. It shows Mason's face clearly as he smashes my car with a baseball bat. His college baseball bat with the initials he burned into the handle himself. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The color drains from Mason's face. My father's expression hardens. "You had a camera in your car?" Mason demands, his voice rising. "What, are you spying on people now?" "It's standard with my insurance," I reply, keeping my voice level despite my racing heart. "For the discount. I just didn't tell anyone because I didn't think my own brother would vandalize my property." My mother's hand flies to her throat, a gesture of distress she's perfected over years of family drama. "There must be some mistake. Mason wouldn't." "Would you like to see the footage?" I ask, my finger hovering over the play button. A heavy silence fills the living room. Through the bay window, I can see the neighbors, children playing basketball in their driveway, their laughter a distant counterpoint to the tension suffocating our family home. "This is ridiculous," my father finally says, removing his glasses. "Whatever happened to your car, we can handle this as a family. There's no need to involve insurance companies or cameras or, God forbid, the police." "My car is totaled, Dad," I say, feeling a strange calm settling over me. "It's not a fender bender or a misunderstanding. Every window is shattered. The dashboard is destroyed, the seats are slashed. It would cost more to repair than the car is worth." "We'll help you pay for it," my mother interjects quickly, glancing nervously between Mason and me. "Your father and I can help with the deductible." I look at her incredulously. The deductible is the least of it. Why did Mason do it? That's what I want to know. All eyes turn to my brother, who shifts uncomfortably under the collective gaze. The bandage on his hand suddenly seems to glow with significance. "You wouldn't lend me money," he finally mutters, staring at the carpet. "I asked you for a loan last week and you said no." The simplicity of his explanation steals my breath. Last week, Mason had called asking for $5,000, claiming he had an investment opportunity that couldn't wait. When I'd asked for details, he'd grown evasive. When I'd suggested he ask our parents, he'd grown angry. When I'd finally refused, he'd hung up on me. "So you destroyed my car? A $28,000 car because I wouldn't give you $5,000? Mason's face flushes with anger. "You've always been selfish. You have a good job, no kids, no real responsibilities. What's $5,000 to you? But no, you have to lord your success over me just because I'm figuring things out." "Figuring things out?" I repeat incredulously. "You're 28. You live in our parents' basement. You've been figuring things out for 6 years since college." "Enough," my father interrupts, standing abruptly. "This isn't helping anything. Mason, if what Olivia says is true, you'll pay for the damages." "Olivia, you'll drop this insurance claim nonsense. We handle family matters within the family." I look from my father to my mother to my brother, seeing with sudden clarity the dynamic that has shaped our family for decades. Mason acts out, my parents protect him, and I am expected to accommodate, to forgive, to maintain the peace at my own expense. "The claim has already been filed," I say, rising from my seat. "The footage has been submitted. The process is underway." "You can withdraw it," my father insists, his authority voice in full effect. "Call them right now and tell them it was a mistake." "It wasn't a mistake," I reply, grabbing my purse. "And I'm not withdrawing anything." Quote. Mason stands suddenly, his height intimidating as he towers over me. "You're really going to do this? Turn your back on your own family?" The irony of his statement might have made me laugh if the situation weren't so painful. I'm not turning my back on anyone. I'm simply holding you accountable for your actions. We've always supported you, my mother says tearfully. Through college, when you broke up with Daniel, when you wanted to take that job in Seattle. You've tolerated me, I correct her gently. There's a difference. You've supported Mason, you've made excuses for Mason, you've cleaned up after Mason. With me, you've always expected better. My father steps between us, his face flushed with anger. If you go through with this insurance claim, if you even think about pressing charges against your brother, you're no longer welcome in this house. The ultimatum hangs in the air between us. I think of all the family dinners, the holidays, the birthdays that stretch before me. I think of my grandmother's recipes, my childhood bedroom that still holds my books, the backyard where I learned to ride a bike. All the connections that make up a life, a history, an identity. I understand, I say, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. I hope someday you'll understand why I can't sweep this under the rug. As I walk to the door, my mother hurries after me, her voice lowered. Olivia, please reconsider. Your father doesn't mean it, he's just upset. Mason made a mistake, but he's going through a difficult time. I turn to face her, seeing the worry lines that frame her eyes, the gray strands in her auburn hair. Mom, I love you. But Mason isn't going through a difficult time. He's experiencing the consequences of his choices for perhaps the first time in his life. Outside, the spring air feels cleansing after the stifling atmosphere of my parents' house. I slide into the rental car, my hands shaking slightly as I grip the steering wheel. The dashboard clock reads 2:17 p.m. In the span of a morning, my car has been declared a total loss, my brother has admitted to destroying it, and my father has essentially disowned me. My phone rings as I pull away from the curb. My best friend Kate's name flashes on the screen. I answer on speaker as I navigate through the familiar neighborhood streets. How did it go with the insurance? She asks without preamble. The claim is being processed, I reply, stopping at a red light. The dashcam footage makes it pretty straightforward. And with your family? I watch a mother pushing a stroller across the crosswalk, her free hand holding a toddler's tiny fingers. About as well as expected. Dad says I'm not welcome back if I go through with the claim. Kate's sharp intake of breath carries clearly through the speaker. He's bluffing. He has to be. I don't think so, not this time. The light turns green, and I press gently on the accelerator. This is different. I'm challenging the family dynamic in a way I never have before. Where are you going now? Kate asks, concern evident in her voice. I realize I've been driving aimlessly, with no clear destination in mind. My apartment feels too small to contain the magnitude of what's happening. My workplace too public for the emotional processing I need to do. I don't know, I admit. I just needed to drive. Come to my place, Kate offers immediately. I'll open wine. We'll order takeout. You can stay as long as you need to figure things out. The generosity of her offer brings unexpected tears to my eyes. Thanks, but I think I need some time alone first, to process everything. I understand, but the offer stands day or night. And Olivia? You're doing the right thing. Someone needed to hold Mason accountable eventually. After we hang up, I find myself driving toward Lakeside Park, a place I haven't visited in years. As teenagers, Mason and I would come here during the summers. Before our paths diverged so dramatically. Before he became the golden child, and I became the responsible one. Before the pattern of his transgressions and my accommodations became our family's unspoken law. I park near the water and walk to a bench overlooking the lake. The spring sun glints off the water's surface, creating diamond patterns that shift and change with each ripple. Nearby, a family flies a kite, their laughter carrying across the open space. My phone buzzes with texts from my mother, increasingly desperate in tone. Please come back and talk this through. Your father didn't mean what he said. Mason is really sorry. We can work this out together. No acknowledgement of the actual issue. No recognition of the pattern. Just the expectation that I will, as always, be the one to bend, to forgive, to accommodate. As the sun begins to set, casting long shadows across the park, I make a decision. I've spent my entire life trying to earn my family's approval by being responsible, reliable, and reasonable. I've worked hard, paid my own way, built my career without nepotism or favors. And still, when forced to choose, they choose Mason and his destructive behavior over my reasonable boundaries. Perhaps it's time to choose myself for once. I drive to Kate's apartment building, a modern complex downtown that always makes me feel slightly underdressed. She opens the door before I can knock, enveloping me in a tight hug that smells of her signature vanilla perfume. "I ordered Thai," she announces, leading me inside, "and opened the good wine." Kate's apartment reflects her personality, colorful, eclectic, slightly chaotic, but fundamentally welcoming. Law books share shelf space with romance novels. Designer shoes are kicked off beside the door. Half-finished craft projects occupy the dining table, pushed aside to make room for containers of pad thai and green curry. "I've been thinking," I say after we've settled on her oversized couch with full plates and fuller wine glasses. "I can't go back to how things were, even if my parents apologize. Even if Mason miraculously transforms into a responsible adult overnight." Kate nods encouragingly, waiting for me to continue. "I've spent my whole life being the good daughter, the responsible sister, making sure I never caused problems or asked for too much. And what has it gotten me? A brother who destroys my property when I set a boundary, parents who enable his worst behavior, and the implicit expectation that I'll forgive it all because that's what family does. So what are you going to do?" Kate asks, reaching for the wine bottle to refill our glasses. "I'm going through with the insurance claim," I say firmly. "I'm filing a police report tomorrow morning. And I'm setting boundaries with my family that will either change our relationship for the better or end it entirely." Kate raises her glass in a toast. To boundaries and new beginnings. We clink glasses, the crystal sound ringing clearly in the quiet apartment. For the first time since seeing my shattered car this morning, I feel a sense of possibility rather than loss. Later that night, as I settle into Kate's guest bedroom, my phone rings with an unknown number. Normally, I would let it go to voicemail, but something compels me to answer. "Is this Olivia Campbell?" a male voice asks. "Yes, who's calling?" "This is Detective Morales with the Lakeside Police Department. We received some interesting footage from Progressive Insurance today regarding your vehicle. I understand the person in the video is related to you?" My heart races as I sit up straight in the unfamiliar bed. "Yes, that's my brother, Mason Campbell. We'd like you to come in tomorrow to file a formal report. The insurance company has already submitted the evidence, but we need your statement to proceed." "Proceed with what?" I ask, though I already know the answer. "Charges, Ms. Campbell. What's shown in that video is felony vandalism, given the extent of the damage. Insurance fraud if he tries to deny it. We take these matters seriously." After I hang up, I lie awake staring at the ceiling fan rotating slowly above me. Tomorrow, I will walk into a police station and formally accuse my brother of a crime. My parents will see it as the ultimate betrayal. Family friends will whisper about the Campbell siblings and how sad it is that things fell apart. But for the first time in my life, I'm choosing justice over peace, authenticity over appearances, self-respect over family approval. The path ahead is uncertain, but it's mine to walk on my own terms. When morning comes, I dress with particular care in a navy blue dress and blazer that make me feel professional and composed. Kate makes coffee and offers to come with me to the police station, but this is something I need to do alone. The station is busier than I expected, with officers moving purposefully through the lobby and civilians waiting on hard plastic chairs. I give my name to the desk sergeant, who directs me to wait for Detective Morales. My phone buzzes with a text from my father. "Mason says the police called him. Is this your doing?" Your mother is beside herself. I switch my phone to silent and slip it into my purse just as a tall man with salt and pepper hair approaches. "Miss Campbell, I'm Detective Morales. Thank you for coming in." He leads me to a small interview room, surprisingly comfortable with actual chairs instead of the stark metal furnishings I'd expected from television crime shows. He offers me water, which I accept gratefully, my throat suddenly dry. I've reviewed the footage your insurance company provided. He begins, opening a file on the table between us. Very clear evidence. But I need to understand the context. What can you tell me about your relationship with your brother? The question is broader than I anticipated, requiring me to articulate a lifetime of complex dynamics. I take a deep breath and begin at the beginning, explaining our childhood, the pattern of behavior, the escalating entitlement, and finally, the request for money that preceded the vandalism. Detective Morales takes notes, occasionally asking clarifying questions. His expression remains neutral, professional, giving no indication of his thoughts about my family situation. "And you're certain you want to proceed with pressing charges?" he asks when I've finished my explanation. Family cases can be complicated. Once we move forward, it's difficult to reverse course. I think of the shattered glass, the slashed seats, the methodical destruction of something I worked hard to earn. I think of my parents, house where I'm no longer welcome, the ultimatum, the lifetime of accommodating Mason's behavior at my own expense. Yes, I say firmly. I want to proceed. The morning sun slants through the blinds of Kate's guest bedroom, casting warm stripes across the unfamiliar comforter. I've been awake for hours, watching the gradual transformation of darkness into dawn, my mind racing with the implications of what I've set in motion. The police report is filed. Detective Morales has my statement. There's no turning back now. My phone, which I finally unmuted, shows 17 missed calls. 12 from my mother, 3 from my father, and 2 from numbers I don't recognize. The text messages are equally overwhelming, ranging from my mother's desperate pleas to my father's cold fury. None from Mason. I scroll through them while sipping the coffee Kate left before heading to work. A corporate lawyer with the compassion to take a later start today, she'd squeezed my shoulder and whispered, "Whatever happens, you're doing the right thing," before slipping out the door in her impeccable suit and heels. A new text arrives as I'm considering whether to respond to any of the previous ones. It's from my cousin Rachel, my mother's sister's daughter, and someone I've always been close to despite the geographical distance between us. Just heard what happened. Mom got a hysterical call from Aunt Patricia. What's the real story? Are you okay? The simplicity of her question, asking from my perspective rather than assuming I'm in the wrong, brings unexpected tears to my eyes. I tap out a response, explaining the vandalism, the dashcam footage, Mason's admission, and my parents' ultimatum. Her reply comes quickly. "Holy shit, Liv, that's insane. Mason's always been troubled, but this is next level. Where are you staying? Do you need anything?" The validation in her message feels like the first clean breath after being underwater too long. Someone in my family sees the situation clearly, doesn't automatically assume I'm overreacting or being difficult. I met my friend Kate's for now. I'm okay. Just processing everything. Rachel's response is immediate and heartening. "I'm coming to town next weekend. Let's meet up. And Liv, you're not wrong here. What Mason did was criminal, and Aunt Patricia and Uncle David are wrong to expect you to just absorb this like all the other times. All of the other times." The phrase echoes in my mind as I shower and dress for the day. There have been so many other times, smaller injustices, minor destructions, moments when Mason's behavior crossed lines and I was expected to forgive without acknowledgement or amends. The baseball trophy he smashed because I received academic honors at the same ceremony. The diary he read aloud to his friends when I was 13. The college interview he deliberately made me late for by claiming to have lost his house key, stranding me without transportation. The pattern has always been there, but this is the first time I've refused to accept it. My phone rings as I'm gathering my things to head to work. Detective Morales' name appears on the screen. "Ms. Campbell, I wanted to update you on your case. We've issued a summons for your brother to come in for questioning. Given the evidence, the district attorney is considering charging him with felony vandalism and potentially insurance fraud, depending on how he responds to the accusations." "What happens next?" I ask, sitting heavily on the edge of Kate's sofa. "He'll be questioned. Charged formally if the DA proceeds. There would be an arraignment, potentially a trial unless he takes a plea deal. Given the clear evidence, his attorney will likely advise him to plea. The legal machinery sounds so impersonal, so removed from the family drama that initiated it. Will I need to testify? Possibly, though the video evidence is extremely compelling on its own. I'll keep you updated as things progress. He pauses. Are you somewhere safe? Sometimes these situations can escalate when charges are filed. The question catches me off guard. I'm staying with a friend. My brother doesn't know where. Good. Keep it that way for now. And Miss Campbell? It takes courage to stand up to family. Not everyone manages it. After we hang up, I sit motionless, absorbing the detective's words. Courage isn't a quality I've ever associated with myself. Responsibility, yes. Reliability, certainly. But courage suggests a boldness, a willingness to face opposition that I've spent most of my life avoiding. My work as an architectural designer at Hoffman & Associates provides the structure I desperately need today. The clean lines of blueprints, the precise measurements, the clear rules of what will stand and what will fall, all of it feels reassuringly ordered compared to the chaos of my personal life. You're here, my boss, Eleanor Hoffman, remarks when she sees me at my drafting table. I half expected you to take a personal day after what happened to your car. News travels fast in a small office. Work feels normal, I explain, not meeting her eyes. I needed normal today. Eleanor nods, her silver bob swinging gently. At 62, she's built her firm from nothing, navigating the male-dominated field of architecture with a steely determination I've always admired. Sometimes the drafting table is the best therapy, but my door is open if you need to talk. I immerse myself in the Johnson Project, a renovation of a historic downtown building being converted to mixed-use retail and residential space. The challenges of preserving the original architectural features while meeting modern safety codes require my complete concentration, a welcome respite from thoughts of family betrayal and criminal charges. At lunch, I check my phone to find a voicemail from a number I don't recognize. The voice that fills my ear is unfamiliar, male, and professionally measured. Miss Campbell, this is Stuart Weiss, attorney at law. I've been retained by Mason Campbell regarding the allegations you've made. I'd like to discuss the possibility of resolving this matter outside the criminal justice system. Please call my office at your earliest convenience. My hand shakes slightly as I save the message. An attorney. Mason has hired an attorney. The reality of what's happening hits me with renewed force. This isn't just a family disagreement anymore. This is legal action, potential criminal records, courts and judges, and consequences that can't be smoothed over with tearful apologies and promises to do better next time. I forward the voicemail to Kate, adding a text. Mason hired a lawyer. Should I call back? Her response is immediate and emphatic. Do not call. Forward to police. Get your own lawyer ASAP. Coming over tonight with pizza and my law school friend who does criminal cases. The afternoon stretches endlessly, my concentration shattered by the attorney's message. When 5 o'clock finally arrives, I pack up quickly, avoiding the usual friendly banter with colleagues. In the parking lot, I scan the surroundings carefully before approaching my rental car, suddenly aware of my vulnerability. As I insert the key in the ignition, a sharp knock on the passenger window makes me jump. My coworker James stands there, concern evident on his face. I lower the window cautiously. Sorry to startle you, he says. You seemed upset all day. Just wanted to check if you're okay. James and I have worked together for 3 years, collaborating on several projects. He's always been kind, professional, and, I suddenly realize, attentive in ways I've been too preoccupied to notice. Family issues, I explain vaguely. It's complicated. He nods understandingly. Those usually are. Listen, if you need anything, someone to talk to, help with work coverage, whatever, just let me know. The simple offer of support from someone not entangled in my family drama feels like a gift. Thanks, James. I appreciate that. At Kate's apartment, I find her already setting out pizza and wine alongside a petite woman with a sleek black bob and sharp eyes. Olivia, this is Diane Wu. We survived property law together. She's now at the DA's office and knows her stuff. Diane extends her hand, her grip firm and confident. Kate filled me in on the basics. Sounds like a clear-cut case with the video evidence, but family complications always muddy the waters. Over pizza, Diane outlines the likely legal proceedings, the strengths of the case, and the potential outcomes. Your brother's attorney will push hard for a diversion program, community service, restitution, maybe anger management classes. With no prior record, he has a good shot at avoiding jail time. I don't necessarily want him in jail, I admit, surprising myself with the realization. I just want him to face actual consequences for once. And I want my car replaced. Diane nods, taking a sip of wine. The insurance will handle the car, especially with the evidence you have. As for consequences, she sets down her glass deliberately. The criminal justice system will provide those, regardless of what your family wants. That's why it exists. Later, after Diane leaves with promises to connect me with a victim advocate, Kate and I sit on her balcony, watching the city lights glimmer against the darkening sky. I never thought I'd be here, I confess. Pressing charges against my own brother. Being essentially disowned by my parents. Starting over at 32. Kate turns to face me, her expression serious in the dim light. You're not starting over, Liv. You're just finally living on your own terms, instead of contorting yourself to fit their expectations. What if I'm making a terrible mistake? What if this destroys our family forever? She reaches over to squeeze my hand. Ask yourself this. What kind of family requires one member to constantly sacrifice their dignity and boundaries to maintain peace? Is that really a family worth preserving at all costs? Her question haunts me through another restless night. I dream of my childhood home, but in the dream, the walls are made of glass and I can see Mason inside, smashing things while my parents watch impassively. I try to shout, to make them see what's happening, but no sound emerges from my throat. I wake disoriented, the unfamiliar ceiling of Kate's guest room momentarily confusing me. My phone shows it's just after 4 in the morning. As I reach for the water glass on the nightstand, a new text message appears on the screen. It's from Mason. You've really done it now. Stuart says I could go to jail because of you. Is that what you want? Your own brother behind bars? Hope you're proud of yourself. No apology, no acknowledgement of what he did. Just anger that there might be consequences, and an attempt to make me feel responsible for them. The familiar pattern of our relationship, distilled into a single text message. I don't respond. Morning brings another message, this one from my mother. Mason's attorney says there's a meeting at the police station today. Please, Olivia, reconsider what you're doing to this family. Your father hasn't slept in days. I'm worried about his heart. The implicit message is clear. If Dad has health problems, it will be my fault for causing stress, not Mason's for committing a crime. The burden of responsibility is placed entirely on my shoulders, as it has been throughout our lives. I forward the message to Diane, who responds promptly. Classic manipulation. Your brother committed a crime. Any stress is a result of his actions, not your response to them. Stay strong. At work, I struggle to focus on the Johnson project despite its pressing deadline. Eleanor stops by my drafting table around noon, her expression concerned. Take the afternoon off, she says, making it sound more like an instruction than a suggestion. Whatever's going on in your personal life is clearly affecting your work. Deal with it so you can come back fresh tomorrow. Embarrassed but grateful, I pack up my things. As I'm leaving, Eleanor calls after me, Olivia? Remember that renovation you designed for the Palmer house last year? The one with the brilliant solution for the load-bearing wall? I nod, unsure where she's going with this. I fought for your design when the client wanted something conventional. I knew you were right, even though it was risky. She holds my gaze steadily. Sometimes the hardest path is the right one. Trust your instincts. Driving aimlessly through the city streets, I find myself approaching my apartment building for the first time since discovering my vandalized car in its parking lot 3 days ago. I've been living out of a hastily packed overnight bag at Kate's, avoiding this place that suddenly feels marked by violation. The property manager, Mr. Alvarez, waves as I enter the lobby. Ms. Campbell, the police were here asking questions about the night your car was damaged. I showed them the security footage from the parking lot entrance. My heart skips. There's security footage? He nods enthusiastically. Installed last month after those bike thefts. It shows a car entering at 1:58 a.m., not a resident's vehicle, then leaving at 2:22 a.m. The police seemed very interested. Additional evidence. Corroboration of the dashcam footage. The case against Mason grows stronger by the day. In my apartment, everything looks exactly as I left it, yet somehow different. The space that once felt like a sanctuary now seems vulnerable, penetrable. Mason knew where I lived. He came here in the middle of the night with the deliberate intention of destroying something valuable to me. What else might he do when cornered? I moved methodically through the rooms, packing more clothes, gathering important documents, collecting the sentimental items I couldn't bear to lose. Photos of my grandparents, the small watercolor I bought on my first solo trip to Europe, the crystalline paperweight Eleanor gave me when I completed my first major project. As I'm zipping my suitcase, a knock at the door freezes me in place. For a panicked moment, I wonder if Mason has come to confront me directly. I approach cautiously, peering through the peephole to see my father standing in the hallway, his posture rigid with tension. I consider pretending I'm not home, but some combination of ingrained respect and morbid curiosity compels me to open the door. "Dad," I say, not inviting him in. This is unexpected. He looks older than he did just days ago, the lines around his mouth deeper, his eyes shadowed with fatigue. "We need to talk, Olivia. May I come in?" I step aside silently, watching as he enters and takes in the half-packed suitcase on my bed visible through the bedroom doorway. "You're moving out?" he asks, his voice carefully neutral. "Staying with a friend temporarily, until things settle." He nods as if this confirms something he already suspected. "That's partly why I'm here. Your mother and I have been talking. This situation has gotten completely out of hand." "I agree," I say, remaining standing even as he seats himself on my sofa. Mason destroying my car definitely qualifies as out of hand. My father sighs heavily, pinching the bridge of his nose. "Stuart Weiss called this morning. He says Mason is facing felony charges that could mean jail time. Actual jail time, Olivia. For a family disagreement." "It wasn't a disagreement, Dad, it was vandalism. Destruction of property. A crime with actual evidence and witnesses." "He's your brother," my father says, as if this simple fact should override all other considerations. "Whatever he did, however wrong it was, do you really want to see him in handcuffs? With a criminal record that will follow him for life?" The question hits its mark, probing the lingering doubt I've tried to suppress. Do I want that? Can I live with being the one who initiated such severe consequences? "What I want," I say slowly, choosing my words with care, "is for Mason to finally face real consequences for his actions. What I want is for you and Mom to stop enabling behavior that's been escalating for years. What I want is to be treated with the same concern and protection you've always given him." My father's expression hardens. "That's not fair, Olivia. We've always supported you. You've always expected me to be the reasonable one, to forgive Mason's outbursts, to understand his feelings, to accommodate his needs. Has anyone ever asked him to understand or accommodate mine?" The question hangs between us, unanswered because we both know the truth. No one has ever expected Mason to adapt to others. The world, our family, has always adapted to him. He's willing to pay for the damages, my father finally says. Full replacement value of the car. Stuart says if you drop the charges, they can handle it as a civil matter between family members. I think of the dashcam footage. Mason's face contorted with rage as he methodically destroyed something I worked hard to earn. The baseball bat swinging again and again, glass shattering, metal denting. The calculated nature of the attack, driving to my apartment in the middle of the night, bringing a weapon, knowing exactly where I'd be parked. "It's too late for that," I say quietly. "The police have the footage. The property manager showed them security video of Mason's car entering and leaving the parking lot. The insurance company is already processing the claim as vandalism. This isn't just between us anymore." My father stands abruptly, his face flushing with anger. So that's it? You'll destroy your brother's future over a car? Something that can be replaced? Mason destroyed his own future when he decided that my refusal to give him money justified destroying my property. I'm just refusing to shield him from the consequences of that decision. Your mother was right, he says, moving toward the door. You've changed. The daughter we raised would never do this to her family. As his words land like physical blows, I suddenly see with perfect clarity the fundamental misconception at the heart of our family dynamic. The daughter you raised, I say, my voice steadier than I feel, was taught that her feelings mattered less than her brother's, that her boundaries were negotiable, that her role was to accommodate, to forgive, to maintain peace at any personal cost. I haven't changed, Dad. I've just finally recognized that those lessons were wrong. He pauses with his hand on the doorknob, his back to me. For a moment, I think he might turn around, might finally hear what I'm saying. Instead, he opens the door and walks out without another word. The soft click of the latch, a period at the end of a relationship I've spent my entire life trying to perfect. I sink onto the sofa, my legs suddenly unable to support me. The apartment feels impossibly quiet in his wake, the silence ringing in my ears like aftermath of an explosion. I've just said things to my father I've never had the courage to articulate before, truths I've barely acknowledged to myself. My phone buzzes with a text from Kate. Everything okay? You've been radio silent all afternoon. I stare at the message, unsure how to distill the seismic shift that's just occurred into a text. Finally, I type. Dad came by. It didn't go well, but I think I finally stood up for myself. Really stood up for myself. Her response is immediate and supportive. I'm proud of you, that takes incredible courage. Coming home soon if you want company. Courage. There's that word again. Detective Morales mentioned it. Now, Kate, a quality I've never associated with myself, yet suddenly others seem to see it in me. As I finish packing the essentials from my apartment, I catch a glimpse of myself in the bathroom mirror. I look tired, my eyes shadowed from nights of disrupted sleep, but there's something else there too, a steadiness in my gaze that feels new. The face looking back at me is not just the dutiful daughter or the accommodating sister, but a woman who has finally drawn a line and held it, regardless of the cost. I take one last look around the apartment before leaving, realizing that whether or not I return here, I've already left behind the person I used to be. The path ahead is uncertain, fraught with legal proceedings and family estrangement, but for the first time in my life it's a path I've chosen for myself, rather than one dictated by others' expectations. As I lock the door behind me, I feel a strange mixture of grief and liberation. Something has ended today, but something else, something vital and authentic, has just begun. The stark fluorescent lights of the courthouse corridor cast harsh shadows as I sit on an uncomfortable wooden bench, waiting for Mason's arraignment to begin. 2 weeks have passed since my father's visit to my apartment. 2 weeks of legal consultations, insurance paperwork, and careful avoidance of family contact. Kate sits beside me, her presence a silent support as we watch the parade of humanity flowing through the justice system. Anxious defendants, stern-faced attorneys, bored bailiffs. I'm wearing the charcoal gray suit I normally reserve for client presentations, armor against the vulnerability I feel facing my family in this public forum. You don't have to be here, Kate reminds me gently. The victim advocate said your presence isn't required for the arraignment. I know, I reply, smoothing an invisible wrinkle from my skirt. But I need to see this through. All of it. The courtroom doors open, and my breath catches as my parents enter, followed closely by Mason and a man I assume is Stuart Weiss. My mother's eyes are red-rimmed, her normally perfect makeup slightly smudged. My father's jaw is set in a rigid line, his shoulders squared as if preparing for battle. Mason looks smaller somehow, diminished in a navy suit that hangs slightly loose on his frame. Our eyes meet briefly across the corridor. In that moment, I search for some glimmer of remorse, some acknowledgement of the pain he's caused, but find only the familiar resentment and something new. Fear. My mother starts toward me, but my father catches her elbow, steering her away with a sharp shake of his head. They disappear into the courtroom without a word. You okay? Kate asks, squeezing my hand. I think so, I answer, surprised to discover it's true. The cold shoulder from my parents stings, but not as sharply as I'd anticipated. It's just so bizarre to be on opposite sides like this. Literally. Inside the courtroom, we sit on the prosecution side while my family clusters on the defense side. The physical arrangement feels like a perfect metaphor for the new reality of our relationship, divided by choices and consequences, facing each other across an unbridgeable divide. The proceedings themselves are surprisingly brief and anticlimactic. The charges are read: felony vandalism, property damage exceeding $10,000. Mason stands stiffly as he enters his plea. Not guilty. The judge sets a preliminary hearing date, discusses bail conditions, and it's over in less than 15 minutes. As we file out of the courtroom, Stuart Weiss approaches, his manner professionally cordial. "Miss Campbell?" "A moment, please." Kate tenses beside me, her lawyer instincts activating. "Any communication should go through the DA's office," she interjects. Weiss smiles thinly. "Just wanted to inform Ms. Campbell that we'll be submitting a settlement offer tomorrow. The district attorney mentioned he might be open to resolving this without a trial." Behind him, I can see my family watching our interaction, my mother's expression hopeful, my father's guarded, Mason's unreadable. "I'll review it when it comes through official channels," I say neutrally, neither accepting nor rejecting the overture. Outside the courthouse, spring sunshine feels jarringly cheerful after the somber proceedings within. Kate and I descend the steps together, her heels clicking rhythmically against the concrete. "Settlement offer," she muses. "They're worried about the evidence." The dashcam footage is damning. "What do you think they'll propose?" I ask, fishing my sunglasses from my purse. "Full restitution, certainly. Probably anger management classes. Community service. A deferred prosecution where the charges are dropped after a probationary period if he stays out of trouble." She glances at me sideways. "It wouldn't be unreasonable to accept something like that, you know. If you wanted this to be over." Do I want it to be over? The question follows me through the day, lingering as I return to work. As I eat dinner alone in Kate's apartment. As I lie awake staring at another unfamiliar ceiling. Part of me craves resolution, an end to the legal proceedings and family estrangement. Another part worries that too quick a resolution might mean a return to old patterns, to enabling and accommodating at my own expense. The settlement offer arrives via email the next morning, outlining essentially what Kate predicted: full restitution for the car, court-mandated therapy, community service, and charges dismissed after 1 year of good behavior. In exchange, I would need to approve the arrangement and agree not to pursue civil damages. I forward it to Diane for her professional opinion, adding, "What happens if I say no?" Her response comes during my lunch break. "If you decline, we proceed to preliminary hearing, then likely trial. With the evidence, conviction is probable. Your brother would have a criminal record, possible jail time, mandatory restitution anyway. Consider what outcome you really want here. What outcome do I really want? Justice? Certainly. Accountability? Definitely. But vengeance? My brother behind bars? That feels less clear." I'm still contemplating the question when Eleanor calls me into her office that afternoon. She gestures for me to sit in one of the sleek leather chairs facing her desk, her expression serious. The Johnson Project client called. She begins without preamble. They're concerned about the timeline and some of the recent design modifications. My stomach tightens. The Johnson Project is the largest in my portfolio, a career-making opportunity I've poured myself into for months. What specifically concerned them? Eleanor slides a folder across her desk. Inside are my most recent drawings with client notes scribbled in the margins. Questions about structural integrity, material choices, aesthetic coherence. Issues I would normally have anticipated and addressed before they became client concerns. "Your work has always been impeccable, Olivia," Eleanor says, her tone gentle but direct. "But these last few weeks, you've been distracted, understandably so. The question is whether you can refocus or whether you need time away to handle your personal situation. The implication is clear. Either I get my professional house in order, or I risk being removed from the project that could define my career. It's not an unreasonable position. Architecture demands precision, attention to detail, complete focus. All qualities that have been in short supply as I've navigated the aftermath of Mason's vandalism. I can refocus, I say, with more confidence than I feel. I'll address all these concerns by the end of the week. Eleanor studies me for a long moment, her experienced eyes seeing more than I'm comfortable revealing. Sometimes resolving one area of our lives creates space to excel in others. Whatever's happening with your family situation, find a resolution that lets you move forward, not just legally, but emotionally. Her words echo in my mind as I drive to Kate's that evening. The settlement offer a persistent presence in my thoughts. What would moving forward actually look like? What resolution would free me to reclaim my focus, my creativity, my peace of mind? The answer comes from an unexpected source. As I'm heating leftover pasta for dinner, my phone rings with a number I don't recognize. Olivia Campbell? A woman's voice asks when I answer. Yes, speaking. This is Dr. Lydia Reyes. I'm a therapist working with your brother Mason Campbell. He's given me permission to contact you regarding his treatment. I nearly dropped the phone in surprise. I wasn't aware Mason was in therapy. He began sessions last week as part of his pretrial agreement. Dr. Reyes explains. I'm calling because Mason has expressed interest in a moderated conversation between the two of you if you're willing. This would be a controlled therapeutic environment where both parties could express themselves with professional guidance. My immediate instinct is to refuse. The thought of sitting across from Mason revisiting the hurt and betrayal seems unnecessarily painful. Yet something in the therapist's professional, matter-of-fact tone gives me pause. What would be the purpose of this conversation? I ask cautiously. From Mason's perspective, he wants an opportunity to take responsibility for his actions and express remorse directly to you. From a therapeutic standpoint, such conversations can be valuable for both parties in processing trauma and beginning healing. Remorse. The word catches my attention. In all the legal proceedings, parental interventions, and attorney communications, there has been discussion of restitution, of consequences, of legal strategies. But not once has there been a simple acknowledgement of wrongdoing or expression of regret from Mason himself. I'll consider it, I say finally. Can I let you know my decision in a few days? Of course. Take whatever time you need to decide what's best for your own well-being. After we hang up, I sit at Kate's kitchen counter, the pasta cooling forgotten beside me. A moderated conversation. A chance to hear directly from Mason, without our parents, intervention, or attorneys, careful phrasing. A potential first step toward what? Reconciliation seems too optimistic. Too neat a resolution for the complex tangle of our relationship. But perhaps understanding. Perhaps closure. I call Kate, who listens thoughtfully to my dilemma. It's not without risk, she says after I've explained Dr. Reyes's proposal. These situations can become manipulative if the person isn't genuinely remorseful. But having a professional moderator helps. And Olivia? You've always wondered if Mason actually recognizes what he's done wrong. This might be your chance to find out. 3 days later, I sit in Dr. Reyes's office, a neutrally decorated space with comfortable chairs arranged in a small circle. The wall of certificates behind her desk speaks to her qualifications, but it's her calm, centered presence that reassures me most as she explains the parameters of our session. This is a structured conversation, she tells us, looking between Mason and me. Each person will have uninterrupted time to speak. The focus is on personal experiences and feelings, not accusations or defenses. I'll guide the process and intervene if needed. Are these terms acceptable to both of you? We nod, avoiding direct eye contact with each other. Mason looks different than he did at the arraignment, less defensive, more subdued. The familiar swagger that has defined him since adolescence is noticeably absent. Mason has asked to speak first. Dr. Reyes continues. Olivia, are you comfortable with that? I nod again, my throat suddenly dry with apprehension. Mason takes a deep breath, his hands clasped tightly in his lap. I've been working with Dr. Reyes to understand why I did what I did to your car. He begins, his voice rougher than I remember. The easy answer is that I was angry you wouldn't lend me money. But that's not the whole truth. He looks up, meeting my eyes directly for the first time. The truth is, I've been jealous of you for years. You've built this successful life. Good job, nice apartment, new car, all on your own. While I'm still living in our parents' basement, borrowing money, making excuses. The admission hangs in the air between us, startling in its nakedness. When you said no to the loan, it wasn't just about the money. It was like confirmation that you saw through me, that you knew I wasn't worth investing in. And instead of facing that hard truth, I wanted to hurt you, to bring you down to where I felt. He swallows hard. There's no excuse for what I did. It was criminal. Literally criminal. And I'm sorry, Olivia, truly sorry. The words I've waited weeks to hear, years if I'm honest, land with surprising weight. Not because I doubt their sincerity. Something in Mason's demeanor suggests this isn't the practiced apology of someone merely trying to escape consequences. Rather, it's the recognition that even sincere remorse doesn't automatically heal the damage done or guarantee changed behavior. When it's my turn to speak, I choose my words carefully, aware that this conversation may be a turning point in our relationship. I've spent my entire life trying to understand you, Mason. Making allowances, giving second chances, believing the best despite evidence to the contrary. What hurt most about this incident wasn't just the destruction of my property, it was the deliberate intent behind it. You wanted to hurt me because I set a boundary. I take a steadying breath. I can accept your apology, and I do, but acceptance isn't the same as trust. Trust requires consistency, respect for boundaries, actual change, not just regret after consequences appear. Dr. Reyes guides us through the remainder of the session, helping translate feelings into clear communications, interrupting when old patterns begin to emerge. By the end, we've reached no dramatic reconciliation, no tearful embraces, but something perhaps more valuable: a framework for honesty between us. As we prepare to leave, Mason asks hesitantly, "Will you consider the settlement offer? I know I don't deserve your mercy, but I'm trying to turn things around." A felony conviction would make that harder. I study my brother's face, searching for manipulation or entitlement, finding instead a vulnerability I've rarely seen him display. "I'll consider it," I say finally. "But Mason, whatever I decide about the legal proceedings, my boundaries with you will remain firm. If there's ever to be a relationship between us again, it has to be built on mutual respect, not obligation or guilt." He nods solemnly. I understand. Outside the therapist's office, the late afternoon sun casts long shadows across the parking lot. I stand beside my rental car, watching as Mason walks to the bus stop, his shoulders hunched against a spring breeze. For the first time since discovering my vandalized car, I feel something shift within me. Not forgiveness exactly, but perhaps the first tentative step toward it. That evening, I call the district attorney assigned to Mason's case and agree to the settlement terms, with one addition. Mason must continue therapy for the full year of his probation, not just the initially proposed 3 months. "You're sure about this?" the DA asks. "With the evidence we have, we could push for more." "I'm sure," I reply, surprised by my own certainty. "This isn't about leniency. It's about what actually creates change. Another 3 months of therapy might make a difference. That's worth more to me than seeing my brother with a permanent record." After hanging up, I sit on Kate's balcony watching twilight settle over the city, feeling lighter than I have in weeks. The decision wasn't about absolving Mason of responsibility or surrendering my own boundaries. Rather, it was about choosing a path that might lead to actual healing rather than mere punishment. My phone chimes with a text from Eleanor. "How's the Johnson project revisions coming?" With sudden clarity, I realize I haven't thought about work all day. Not because I'm distracted by family drama, but because I've been fully present in addressing that drama directly. Eleanor was right. Resolving one area of life does create space for others to flourish. I respond. Completed structural modifications this afternoon. Material alternatives report tomorrow. Back on track. Her reply comes quickly. Knew you would be. By the way, that Palmer renovation you designed won the Architectural Innovation Award. Announced today, congratulations. The news catches me by surprise. The Palmer project, the unconventional solution Eleanor had defended against client skepticism, recognized for its innovation. Professional validation arriving precisely when I've begun to reclaim my personal power. Thank you for believing in that design, I text back, and for encouraging me to trust my instincts. The next morning, I wake early, energized by a sense of purpose that's been absent in recent weeks. After breakfast, I broach the subject I've been avoiding with Kate. I think it's time I found my own place again. I say as we wash dishes side by side. You've been an amazing friend, but I can't live on your couch forever. Kate passes me a dripping plate to dry. You know you're welcome as long as you need. But I understand wanting your own space again. Just promise me you'll be selective this time. Find something that feels like you, not just somewhere to exist. Her words resonate with a truth I've been circling. In so many ways, I've chosen my living situations, my possessions, even my daily routines based on practicality and others' expectations rather than my own authentic preferences. Actually, I say, setting down the dish towel, I've been thinking about that architectural competition Eleanor mentioned last month, the Sustainable Microhousing Project. What if I submitted a design and actually built it for myself if it wins? Kate's eyebrows rise in surprise. That's ambitious? And exactly the kind of thinking you've been missing in your life. Go for it. The decision crystallizes with unexpected clarity. Not just a place to live, but a home of my own design. Not just a professional exercise, but a personal statement. A space that reflects who I am becoming, rather than who I've been expected to be. That afternoon, I arranged to meet with Detective Morales to officially confirm my acceptance of the settlement agreement. We sit in the same interview room, where I first detailed Mason's history of entitled behavior and my family's pattern of enabling him. Are you satisfied with this resolution? He asks after reviewing the terms. I think so, I reply thoughtfully. It's not about satisfaction, really. It's about what creates the possibility for actual change. He nods, understanding in his eyes. That's a mature perspective. Most victims in family cases want either total forgiveness or maximum punishment. The middle path takes more courage. There's that word again, courage, attributed to me by yet another observer. A quality I'm slowly beginning to recognize in myself, not as something innate or extraordinary, but as a muscle strengthened through difficult choices and maintained boundaries. As I leave the police station, my phone rings with my mother's number. I answer with some trepidation, unsure what to expect after weeks of minimal contact. Olivia? Her voice sounds smaller than I remember, hesitant. I heard you accepted the settlement offer. We just wanted to say thank you. The gratitude feels insufficient, almost hollow after everything that's transpired. I didn't do it for you or Dad, I say, more sharply than intended. I did it because it seemed like the right path forward for everyone, including Mason. I understand, she says, though I'm not sure she does. Your father and I have been talking about Mason, about how we've handled things over the years. We're seeing some patterns we hadn't recognized before. The admission, tentative as it is, catches me off guard. What kinds of patterns? She sighs heavily. How we've expected different things from each of you, how we've made excuses for behaviors that should have had consequences long ago. Dr. Reyes suggested some family sessions, and we're considering it. It's not an apology, not a full acknowledgement of the damage done by years of unequal treatment and enabling, but it's a crack in the facade, a glimmer of potential awareness that seems worth exploring. Family therapy could be valuable, I say carefully, but Mom, I'm still establishing my own boundaries. Any reconciliation has to respect those boundaries, not just temporarily while everyone feels remorseful, but permanently as the new normal in our relationship. I understand, she says again, and this time I sense she might actually be trying to. We miss you, Olivia. After we hang up, I stand in the spring sunshine, processing the conversation. No dramatic breakthroughs, no perfect resolutions, just small steps toward a potentially healthier dynamic. It's messy and incomplete, like most real human growth. Back at Kate's apartment, I spread blank paper across her dining table and begin sketching preliminary designs for the microhousing competition. The creative flow I've been missing returns in a rush, ideas taking shape beneath my pencil with an organic fluidity that feels almost magical after weeks of blocked inspiration. This is what moving forward looks like, I realize. Not the absence of past hurt or the guarantee of future harmony, but the reclamation of my own creative energy, my own authentic choices, my own path distinct from family expectations or limitations. As twilight deepens outside Kate's windows, I continue drawing, adding details, refining concepts, imagining not just a structure but a home. My home, designed according to my values, reflecting my identity rather than conforming to others' expectations. The vandalism of my car, painful as it was, has become the catalyst for a profound shift in how I view myself and my relationships. Not a victim seeking justice or validation, but a woman with the courage to set boundaries, the wisdom to choose productive consequences over punitive ones, and the creativity to design a life that truly reflects her authentic self. The path forward remains uncertain, the relationship with my family a work in progress rather than a neat resolution. But for perhaps the first time in my life, that uncertainty feels like opportunity rather than anxiety, a blank page awaiting my design rather than a problem requiring accommodation. 6 months later, I stand in the center of my newly completed microhome, morning light streaming through strategically placed skylights that eliminate the need for artificial lighting during daylight hours. At just 650 square feet, the space shouldn't feel spacious, yet it does. Every inch carefully designed to serve multiple functions without sacrificing beauty or comfort. My design won the Sustainable Housing Competition, earning not just professional recognition, but also the grant funding that made building it possible. The foundation was poured on land I purchased on the outskirts of the city, close enough for my commute, but far enough to provide the serenity I've discovered I crave. Running my hand along the bamboo countertop in the kitchen area, I marvel at how different my life looks from just 6 months ago. Back then, I was sleeping on Kate's couch, reeling from family estrangement, fighting to maintain focus on my career while navigating the legal aftermath of Mason's vandalism. The insurance settlement finally came through 3 months ago, enough to replace my Toyota Camry with a similar model. But instead, I opted for a hybrid that aligns better with the sustainable principles guiding my new home. The money saved went towards solar panels that now gleam on the south-facing roof, generating more electricity than my modest needs consume. My phone chimes with a text from Eleanor. Client wants to tour the Johnson building today. Can you meet us there at 11? The Johnson project, once at risk due to my distraction, was completed on schedule last month, its innovative design already garnering attention in architectural circles. Rather than a source of stress, it's become a cornerstone of my growing professional reputation. Of course, I respond. I'll bring the final documentation package. As I prepare for the day, selecting a charcoal pencil skirt and emerald blouse that reflects my evolving personal style, I catch sight of the calendar notification on my phone. Family therapy, 5 p.m. The monthly sessions began 3 months ago, after Mason completed his initial intensive therapy, and my parents finally acknowledged their role in enabling his behavior. Progress has been neither linear nor easy. Some sessions end with tense silence, others with tentative understanding. We're learning a new language of boundaries and accountability, stumbling through grammar and pronunciation like travelers in a foreign country. My relationship with Mason remains the most complex. His genuine remorse has been matched by genuine effort. He moved out of our parents' basement into a modest apartment, secured a steady job for the first time in years, and has maintained consistent therapy beyond the court-mandated period. Yet trust rebuilds slowly, one fulfilled promise at a time. The drive to the Johnson building takes me through downtown, past the courthouse, where Mason's case was ultimately resolved through the settlement agreement. The charges were officially dismissed last month after he completed all requirements: full restitution, community service, and ongoing therapy. A chapter closed, though its lessons remain deeply inscribed in all our lives. At the building site, I find Eleanor already walking the client through the ground floor retail space, her silver bob gleaming under the reclaimed industrial lighting I specified in the design. "Ah, here's Olivia now," she says as I approach, the creative force behind the adaptive reuse concept that preserved the historical elements while creating a thoroughly modern functionality. The client, a developer known for conventional, safe designs, nods appreciatively. "I was skeptical about maintaining the original staircase as a feature element," he admits, gesturing toward the restored wrought iron spiral that now serves as both functional access and artistic centerpiece. "But you were right. It's become the most photographed aspect of the entire building." Pride warms me as we continue the tour, each successful element a vindication of my professional instincts, each compromised aspect a lesson for future projects. When we reach the rooftop garden, my personal favorite feature, Eleanor hangs back, allowing me to lead the explanation of the sustainable irrigation system and native plant selection. "Impressive work," she murmurs as the client steps away to take a phone call. "The board is meeting next week to discuss partnership offers. Your name is being mentioned. Partnership at Hoffman & Associates, the goal I've worked toward since joining the firm 5 years ago." The validation sends a thrill through me, yet I find it doesn't carry the desperate weight it might have 6 months ago, when external approval seemed the only measure of my worth. "I'm honored," I reply honestly, though I've been contemplating some changes in my professional direction. Eleanor's eyebrows rise questioningly. "The microhousing project has opened up possibilities I hadn't considered," I explain. "There's growing interest in sustainable, affordable housing solutions. I've been approached about developing a series of designs for different environments and needs." Rather than disappointment, Eleanor's expression shows thoughtful consideration. "You've always had vision beyond conventional architecture," she says after a moment. "Partnership doesn't have to mean limitation. We could structure something that allows you to pursue these interests under the firm's umbrella but with significant autonomy." The offer, flexible, respectful of my evolving professional identity, reflects how much has changed in all aspects of my life. 6 months ago, I might have gratefully accepted any terms offered, eager for the validation and security. Now, I recognize the value of negotiating arrangements that honor my authentic goals rather than contorting myself to fit predetermined roles. "I'd like to explore that possibility," I respond, already envisioning how such an arrangement might work. Later that afternoon, I arrive at Dr. Reyes's office for the family therapy session, the familiar neutral decor, now associated with both difficult confrontations and incremental breakthroughs. My parents are already seated in the circle of chairs, my father fidgeting slightly with his wedding band as he always does in situations that make him uncomfortable. "Olivia," my mother greets me, her smile genuine if somewhat tentative. Our relationship has thawed considerably in recent months, though it bears little resemblance to the deferential dynamic that defined it throughout my earlier life. "How's the new house?" "Home," I correct gently, "and it's wonderful. You should come see it sometime." The invitation, my first, hangs in the air between us, significant in its casualness. My mother's eyes brighten with cautious hope. "I'd like that." Mason arrives last, apologizing for his tardiness. "Traffic was backed up on the freeway," he explains, taking the remaining seat. He looks healthier than I've seen him in years. Clear-eyed, reasonably well-groomed, carrying himself with neither the artificial swagger of his entitled years nor the defensive hunch of the early therapy sessions. Dr. Reyes begins as she always does, asking each of us to share a challenge and a positive development since our last meeting. The structure provides a framework for honest communication without the old patterns of accusation and defensiveness. My father speaks of his ongoing struggle to balance support for Mason with the necessary withdrawal of enabling behaviors. My mother acknowledges the difficulty of rebuilding trust with me while still maintaining her relationship with Mason. Mason admits his frustration with the slow pace of earning back family trust, despite his consistent efforts. When my turn comes, I speak truthfully about the lingering wariness I feel in our interactions. I appreciate the changes everyone is making, I say, looking around the circle, but I still find myself waiting for the old patterns to reassert themselves. For Mason to expect special treatment, for you both to provide it at my expense. My father winces slightly, but doesn't become defensive as he once would have. That's fair, he acknowledges. We earned that distrust over many years. It will take time to prove this change is permanent. Dr. Reyes guides us through a discussion of expectations versus evidence, helping us distinguish between past patterns and present realities. Mason, who has drifted between jobs and vague entrepreneurial schemes since dropping out of college 6 years ago, committing to structured education and a defined career path. That's wonderful news, our mother exclaims, her instinctive enthusiasm genuine if somewhat excessive. Our father nods approvingly. Smart choice. That program has excellent job placement rates. I study my brother's face, seeing both nervousness and determination in his expression. What made you decide on business administration? I ask, genuinely curious about his thinking, rather than questioning his choice. I've been working at Rivera Manufacturing these past few months, he explains. Started in the warehouse, but the office manager has been letting me help with some of the administrative tasks. Turns out I'm pretty good with systems and processes. He shrugs slightly. I like bringing order to chaos, I guess, and I figured formal education would open more doors. The self-awareness in his explanation strikes me forcefully. This isn't Mason chasing the next quick success or easy path. It's a reasoned decision based on actual experience and realistic assessment of his strengths. You'll be good at it, I say simply, offering the straightforward acknowledgement I know he values more than effusive praise. His quick smile of appreciation suggests I've judged correctly. After the session ends, Mason asks if we can speak privately for a moment. We walk to the small courtyard outside Dr. Reyes's office, sitting on a bench beneath a flowering dogwood tree. I wanted to show you something, he says, pulling out his phone and opening his banking app. He turns the screen toward me, displaying a savings account with a modest but steadily growing balance. I've been setting aside money each month. For your car. Confusion must show on my face because he continues quickly. I know the insurance covered it, and I completed the court-ordered restitution, but that was the minimum required. This is different. This is me acknowledging what I did and making it right on my terms, not because a judge ordered it. The gesture touches me unexpectedly, not because I need or want the money, but because it represents something I've never seen from Mason before. Voluntary accountability, beyond what's externally imposed. The program is 2 years, he continues. By the time I graduate, there should be enough to replace what I destroyed. Not just the monetary value, but what it represented to you. Independence, achievement, security. I'm silent for a moment, absorbing the significance of his words and actions. Thank you, I finally say. Not for the money itself, but for understanding why what you did hurt so much. That means more than any financial restitution. Mason nods, relief evident in his expression. I've been trying to really see you, Olivia. Not just how you affect me or what I can get from you, but who you actually are. It's harder than I expected, and more enlightening. The admission, simple yet profound, marks perhaps the most significant shift in our relationship, from self-centered entitlement to genuine recognition of my separate equal personhood. I'm trying to see you too, I acknowledge, beyond the patterns and history. It's a work in progress for all of us, I think. As we part ways in the parking lot, the interaction settles within me as another small step in the reconstruction of our family relationships. Not a dramatic reconciliation, but an incremental rebuilding on more solid foundations. Driving home to my micro house, I detour briefly to the dealership where my vandalized car was originally purchased. The same salesperson recognizes me as I walk through the door, his expression curious. Ms. Campbell, didn't expect to see you back so soon. How's the hybrid working out? Perfectly, I assure him. I'm actually here about something else. My brother is starting community college in the fall, and I'm wondering about your certified pre-owned options. Something reliable but affordable. The decision crystallized during my conversation with Mason. Not an impulsive gesture, but a deliberate choice to support his genuine efforts toward change. Not a car as extravagant as the one he destroyed, but reliable transportation that removes one potential obstacle to his educational commitment. After viewing several options, I select a 5-year-old Honda Civic with excellent fuel economy and a solid maintenance history. The paperwork is straightforward, the payment drawn from investments that have performed well over the past year. Should I call your brother to come pick it up? The salesman asks as we complete the transaction. No, I reply, pocketing the keys. I'll handle the delivery myself. Quote, "How was family therapy?" she asks when I answer. "Productive," I reply, settling onto my window seat that doubles as storage for winter bedding. Mason's starting community college in the fall. Wow, Kate says, genuine surprise in her voice. That's unexpected. Good, but unexpected. I bought him a car, I add, bracing slightly for her reaction. The silence stretches for a beat too long. You bought him a car, she repeats carefully. After he destroyed yours. A used Honda Civic, I clarify. Nothing extravagant. Just reliable transportation for school and work. And you're sure this isn't falling back into old patterns? Accommodating Mason at your expense? The question is fair, asked with the directness of true friendship rather than judgment. I consider it seriously before responding. I don't think so, I say finally. This feels different, like supporting positive change rather than enabling destructive behavior. It's a choice I'm making from a position of strength, not obligation or fear. Kate's skepticism softens audibly. You know yourself better than anyone. Just remember what you've learned about boundaries. They're allowed to evolve, but they still need to exist. Trust me, they do, I assure her. This isn't erasing consequences or pretending the vandalism never happened. It's acknowledging that both Mason and I are in different places now than we were 6 months ago. After we hang up, I resume arranging my books, appreciating Kate's concern while feeling confident in my decision. The boundary lines in my life have indeed shifted, but they've become clearer rather than blurrier, defined by conscious choice rather than reactive fear or ingrained patterns. The following morning, I drive to Mason's apartment complex with the Honda Civic. His surprise when I hand him the keys is genuine, his expression cycling rapidly through confusion, disbelief, and cautious joy. I don't understand, he says, staring at the keys in his palm. Why would you do this after what I did to your car? Because destroying your property was about who you were then, I explain. This is about who you're becoming now. About removing practical obstacles to the positive changes you're making. Tears glisten in his eyes, but he blinks them back quickly. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything, I tell him. Just use it well, get to class on time, show up for work consistently. Build the life you want instead of resenting the lives others have built. His nod is solemn, the responsibility acknowledged without defensiveness or entitlement. I will. I promise. The exchange is brief, without melodrama or excessive emotion, yet it marks a significant milestone in our evolving relationship. Mutual recognition of growth and change, support without enabling, accountability without punishment. As I drive away, watching in my rearview mirror as Mason examines his unexpected gift, I reflect on the journey of the past 6 months. From the shattered glass of my vandalized car to this moment of cautious rebuilding, the path has been neither straight nor easy. Yet each difficult choice, each maintained boundary, each honest conversation has led toward a life more authentically aligned with my values and needs. That evening, as twilight deepens into dusk, I sit on the small deck outside my micro house, watching lightning bugs rise from the meadow that borders my property. Eleanor called earlier to formally offer the flexible partnership arrangement we'd discussed, recognition of my professional achievements, while accommodating my evolving interests in sustainable design. My parents have tentatively accepted my invitation to visit this weekend, the first time they'll see my self-designed home. The reunion will likely contain moments of awkwardness and old tensions, but also the possibility of new understanding and appreciation. Mason texted a simple thank you along with a photo of his course registration confirmation, concrete evidence of commitment following through on promises. None of these relationships has returned to what they were before the vandalism. Perhaps that's the most valuable outcome of the entire painful experience. The recognition that the old dynamics weren't worth preserving intact. What's emerging instead is more honest, more balanced, more authentically supportive of each person's genuine growth. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.